Hey guys, didn't see you there. I was working out, flexing the muscles, getting those back muscles ripped. But you know what's more important than working out? Stretching. So today on the show, I have an amazing integrative stretch teacher named Samuel Camburn. He's joining us live from Los Angeles to teach us how to maximize all that myofascial tissue in your body. That's the white stuff that gets tense. That's the knots that you feel in your back and your shoulders from hunching over. If you have knee problems, if you have ligaments that have been torn, if you have any injuries, if you don't have any injuries at all, he's here to help us optimize our body. So he's joining right now from Los Angeles. Welcome, Samuel, and we're going to get into some stretching. Hey guys. Oh, hey Adam. Let me know you guys are watching from. This is Quarantine But Cute, and he's just going to request to join in a second. I have been working out like a mofo these last 4 months. Here we go. Coming in. I do a lot of swimming. I did 0.6 miles today in the pool. Hey.
Hey, Lauren. How's it going?
Good. Welcome, Samuel. How are you?
Yeah, doing really well. How about yourself?
I'm good. I was really impressed because I don't look at my back a lot, and I have been working out
Nice.
really hard in the pool for the last almost 4 months, and I was like, I'm gonna show it off. But what I was saying to everybody is, you are an integrative stretch teacher, and I want you to talk more about that, because for me, stretching has actually become way more vital than my actual workout.
Yeah, and I'd even like to encourage people to not even just look at it as just stretching. It's making connections with your body. So whether you're swimming or doing a squat or dancing, ultimately when your tissue's working the right way, it lengthens from both ends, and then it stretches and then recoils and contracts back. Okay. So when you're moving the right way, you're always stretching and contracting, elongating and recoiling back into a position the right way. And then, so it's really about like paying attention to your body, setting an intention to create a stronger relationship with yourself.
Yes.
And then noticing which parts of your body feel like what. So when you're swimming,
right.
Did you feel strong and connected? Sounds like you did.
I
or if
did.
there was a spot like, oh my God, like maybe your hip flexor didn't feel, your neck. Yeah, so it's like just paying attention to those areas, no matter what type of movement you're doing, or whether maybe even when you're sleeping, you wake up and you're like, oh, wow, I don't really have the right posture to sleep on my back all night. So it's like no matter what you're doing, paying attention to the parts that are either connected or disconnected, and then getting more life back into that,
Gotcha.
The areas that aren't connected. So go ahead.
So tell us a little more about integrative stretching as opposed to me just going like this.
Okay, yeah, it's a great question. So traditional, and I'll say traditional stretching. Traditional stretching, as far as like as in recent history. I think if you go back farther, pre 100 years ago, we probably knew a different way to stretch. We probably knew how to, because it's innately in us. Innately, we wake up in the morning and we create tension and resistance, and we move through space, right? True. So every time that you're stretching, it should really feel like a yawn. It should really, when you yawn, it should feel like that natural tension that you build and you lengthen. So that's how it should always feel when you're stretching. So integrative stretching, it's based off the principles of resistance flexibility. I don't use the words resistance flexibility anymore, resistance stretching, because some people resonate with that more, but I personally don't resonate with that as much anymore, because it tells you that automatically you're supposed to resist. You're supposed to resist and fight against something. And it's more about like wherever you're restricted, it's more about like being with those areas and setting that intention to create a stronger relationship. But then, so we start in the most contracted state. If you go in the most elongated state right in the beginning, you're just tugging, maybe you have flexibility there and it's already lengthening like that. But more than likely, if you start in the most elongated position, you just miss. It's like watching the end of a movie. It's like,
Yeah.
what happened? It's like all of the, everything that's going on between the start and the finish will tell the story. So if
Right.
if I can stay connected through this full range without a compensation happening, that's what we're looking for.
As
And
opposed
then
to,
if a compensation happens, so it's a way of
okay,
it's basically a way of intersecting and problem solving compensations. Hold on, I'm
gotcha.
gonna take my shirt.
Yeah, go ahead.
Shirt
Woohoo!
off. It got so hot in here.
Sorry, I'm objectifying you today.
Yeah, go ahead, do it.
You're going to show us all the moves. For anybody just joining, this is Samuel Camburn. He's an integrative stretch teacher. I think that's the right way to say it, right?
Yeah, teacher, practitioner. I teach workshops. I do this. I've been studying different movement modalities and healing modalities for over 20 years, and then so I'm mostly interested in healing the body and connecting to different ways of being, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And every single line of connective tissue is running through certain muscle groups that create patterns. We call those kinematic patterns. So basically, every which way the body can possibly move, each one of these patterns is connected to multiple muscle groups that create that throwing, catching, turning out, turning in, every which way you could possibly move. Now, all those positions are also connected to an organ and the physiological function of that organ. And then they're also associated with ways of being. So that's how you can really access. So wherever you're restricted in your body, there is a correlation and association with a physiological function of the organ that line of fascia connects to. So embryonically, when the fetus is formed, the infrastructure of the body is formed first. And then, so it's like you could see, like if you took away all the blood and guts, you could see where you could see where organs are actually connected from the center out distally out to the farther reaches of each limb through the torso and each limb. And then, so there's a strong, every cell of the body is connected, but then every organ is more strongly connected to a movement. So you can literally,
sorry to interrupt. So
go for it.
The way you're describing this kind of sounds like you're teaching yourself how to give yourself acupuncture through stretching.
It totally. That's exactly.
Myofascial release, right? That's what we're looking for.
It's a true myofascial release technique. And Bob Cooley, he's the one that started resistance flexibility, who I studied under. And he went to France. He was at the 2012 Fascial Congress and went to France. And it sounds.
Fascial Congress?
Fascial Congress.
New words, love it.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's a Dr. Gimberto. He has a lot of videos called Strolling Under the Skin, and you can see living fascia. He was like one of the first guys to really start filming living fascia. Anyway, so they went and filmed a guy's hamstring before he had surgery, and filmed this endoscopically. You could see the fascial structures under resistance, under a contracted state. If you contract and then elongate, the fascial structures will turn 90 degrees and start to go along with the muscle fibers.
Wow.
So you can give yourself a true myofascial release. Now, what he did was resistance flexibility.
Right.
And,
but you're not using that word anymore.
I'm not using that word anymore personally. Like I love all the people out there doing resistance stretching and resistance flexibility.
Is that with like TheraBands, or is that?
No, that is with usually within one or two people stretching you, or even if you're doing this on your own, you're resisting, you're contracting, you're resisting, and then you're moving through a stretch following the path of restriction. And this is what was so genius that he figured out, was if you follow the path of restriction, because the body will always go to the path of least resistance. That's when if you do that traditional stretch and say your shoulder rises up and then you're doing this, and you don't really understand that the body compensated.
But
so
that's
the only way to, what's that?
Right? That's out of natural fear. The body, sometimes we're not as in touch, at least in my own experience, or we haven't stretched or done a new exercise we don't always go fully into maybe what we need to be doing because we're taught to build up to that. So how does that relate in stretching? Because if someone doesn't have flexibility and you're teaching them and they all of a sudden put their head between their legs and pull their back, like, I know you're
Well,
not,
this is
but that could happen.
this is the brilliant part.
Yeah.
When you start in the most contracted state, you're the safest. So
Okay.
yeah, that's why we go into a fetal position when we're really scared. So
Yeah.
if you go in the most contracted state, the joints are safe. And
Okay.
then so you start in the beginning and then you follow, and this
Okay.
is the difference that I have. I'm saying don't just resist. It is a form of resisting, but I'm saying connect. I'm saying just be with your body. You set a stronger intention.
Right.
To create, you create an intention.
Mentally. Yeah.
You set an intention to create a stronger relationship with your body. And then you're just listening. Your body will settle. And then it will tell you, you're listening for how hard to contract, what level of contraction, what level of resistance, and then how fast or how slow to go.
Okay.
So, and then when you're doing that, you only go as far as you feel safe. You go as far as your body's telling you.
Right.
The only time you're going to hurt something is if you go all the way.
Okay.
If you go too fast, too soon. So if you all of a sudden go to stretch and put your head between your legs or whatever,
I've not done that. I'm pretty smart, but I've hurt my back doing stupid stuff that I'd never thought would pull my back.
Sure. Yeah. It's always years and years and years. And then then you slip off of a curb and you're like, oh, you jar your back. And
I know it's something stupid. So, okay. So for today, we're going to stretch. I want to tell everybody what's been happening with me. I basically had a sciatic attack that has never happened before. I've had back issues. We discussed this a while ago. And long story short, I have something called piriformis syndrome. So what that means, you guys, is my glute muscle here is hitting. It's a muscle you can't see, obviously. It's the piriformis muscle, and it lines up against the glute, and it goes all the way down my leg to my foot. And it's super, super tight to the point where when it happened overnight, the pain was so bad I wanted someone just to kill me and put me out of my. So I met these amazing doctors, holistic doctors, osteopaths. Well, osteopaths are medical doctors, but chiropractors and healers and all these people. And everyone's like, swim, anti-inflammatory diet, and stretch every day. So I had met a physical therapist. It's been fantastic, but I'm getting to the point where I need more, because what I'm starting to see is that the compensations that I've made on my left leg to help support the numbness in my right foot has now been causing some knee problems that are really sore. I have a lot of tightness in my shoulder and in my back from swimming, even though I stretch. So I wanted to work on some moves that you could suggest for people that have tight backs and knee issues and just overall your intro.
Yeah, let's do it. So
okay.
I'm just going to do a little recap real fast. You start the most, no matter what I'm showing you here, anybody out there watching this, please, you ask yourself, you ask your body if it's the right move for you to do. So, and then you're always starting in the most contracted state, and then you're going as fast or slow and creating whatever, as long as you're connecting to it, your body will tell you, it'll tell you how to do it. You don't even have to think about it. It'll just adjust, and all you have to do is notice what's happening. You just notice what's going on, and then your body will start to generate that healthy tension, and then you can start to unwind that. So just always stay there. Now I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to go and move this out of the way and start moving and showing you.
And don't forget to breathe, everybody.
What's that?
I said, and don't forget to breathe. Breathe through everything.
Yeah, and then on that note, I'm glad you said that. On that note, just notice how you're breathing. Yeah. Don't try to control your breathing. Not that there's not like an optimal way of breathing for most movements, but for this, I just would encourage you to just notice how you're breathing, and then your body will adjust. It will, sometimes you might be holding your breath, and you just notice yourself holding your breath. And if you notice yourself doing it, it'll dissipate and kind of do what it needs to do.
Gotcha.
Okay. I thought I had this adjusted the right way.
I know everybody can't see me all the way, but that's okay. You'll be able to watch Sam. He's the expert.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'm on this split screen. So, okay. So let's actually start off sitting down. This
Okay.
is the safest position. Can you see me, Lauren?
Yep. I'm going to just pull down my little thing here.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is for anybody with like a knee. If you have a knee injury, this is the safest way to stretch your hamstring. You're going to grab both sides of your knee. Now, if your knee is hurting here, there's always something going on 180 degrees over. Remember,
Okay.
wherever you're the most restricted, you have the least amount of neurological connection to that area.
Okay.
So that's why we have to learn how to listen in new ways, because where you get the sensation in a stretch isn't necessarily where it's the most restricted.
Okay.
And that's the hard part of this type of stretching, is like working through creating tension and creating the connection and stretching through a range of motion that doesn't feel like anything. You might have to do 100 repetitions of a movement before you really get full sensation in it. Because that's the nature of accumulated dense fascia. It grows and it becomes hard, and it creates this like internal cast that doesn't let nutrient-dense oxygenated blood get into the muscles. So okay, I'm going to stop talking and explaining that for a minute, but I just want y'all to know that's a very important piece. Okay, so take both hands. You're just going to grab both sides of the knee. You're grabbing underneath the knee.
Okay. And my leg is out. It's hard to see, but my other leg is straight out with my feet flexed or pointed.
I'll do whatever you like, whatever gives you the most stability. Ultimately, you're inhaling into your pelvic floor, reaching the crown of your head up to the side. So you're creating length in between each vertebrae, and you're just you're kicking your leg, kicking your knee into your hand, and then you're just gonna pull your leg up.
Ooh, yeah. My hamstrings are so tight.
And make sure when you're doing that, I'm going to show you from the side view. Okay. Make sure when you're doing that, you're not doing this. You're not just bending down. That you're finding more. You want to continue to create space in between the spine.
Gotcha.
As you're lifting the leg up.
Okay.
And again, just start off going slow.
And you're just bending and flexing, or all the way straight up? Okay, I see.
All the way straight up.
Woo, I'm shaking.
Okay. Let's just do 4 or 5 of these on each leg, and then we're gonna move on.
Woo, it's shaking.
I'm gonna look at you doing this real quick, Lauren.
Okay. It's shaking.
Yeah, for you, I would keep your legs straighter.
Okay.
So it's always good to have a slight bend in the knee, but if you don't have your weight on top of the knee, and I can tell by your leg already that you're very restricted underneath the knee. Yeah. So go ahead and straighten your leg out as much as you can. Contract your quadricep, and it's okay because you don't have to worry about hyperextending your knee because you're grabbing the back of your knee.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead and do it like that. And yeah, don't let your knee bend any more than that as you bring it up.
Am I inhaling on the up?
Just notice how you're inhaling. I mean, just notice your breathing. Don't try to control it.
Okay.
Yep.
So you took bodies, so you breathe certain times.
Yeah, totally. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying for this, especially when you're going through new patterns and you're unwinding these restrictions, your breath, you don't want to have to control your breath. There's already enough going on.
So why would it be shaking when I'm up here? Maybe just because the angle, or what?
It's because it's restricted. Yeah,
okay.
It's not flexible.
And so every day you guys have been waking up the last 2 weeks, and my knee, I've been like limping out of bed. That's never happened before. So we're trying to figure out what the deal is.
And is that the knee that hurts?
Yeah.
Okay. That's your left leg?
This one's better.
And make sure you really engage right from the very beginning.
here.
Really kick your knee into your hands. You're doing great. It's just like I saw like a little bit of a skip in the very beginning. Yeah, there you go.
Sweating. Woo.
Okay, great. Just for time for today, you could continue doing those for like another 10 minutes if you
They're
wanted.
great though. They're so simple.
So simple, right? Now,
Yeah.
where it gets more sophisticated is when, okay, there's always something going on in 360 degrees. So if you're stretching your knee, you're listening for your body, like what else is going on? Is the pattern right beside it more restricted? It's like basically which combinations of movements will it will unlock your specific restrictions. It's like a locksmith picking a lock.
Totally.
Okay?
And I think I immediately felt, Samuel, how tight right here below the knees.
Yeah.
And I stretched my hamstrings with this guy, my yoga strap, but I've slacked off the last few weeks. And I think that's why this is happening.
Yeah. So let me show you another way. So let's go into a kneeling position now.
Okay.
So now we're going to be in this kneeling position like this.
Okay.
And then, and you could have yoga blocks, or you could do this a few different ways. But for now, so your heel, it's kicking this way, right? So like on a self stretch, you can only start in the most contracted state as far as you can, leverage yourself into that position, right? So I'm gonna pull this way. So I'm pulling the knee I'm pulling the heel this way, and then I'm under this resistance, and then I'm just gonna start inching myself back.
Ooh, yes.
Pulling away. Okay, I pulled myself right out of the screen. But yeah, just like this, and then the ribs going towards the spine.
Okay, so it's when I'm doing it, is it like this?
Okay, let me come watch.
I'm going to use this as my yoga block.
Perfect.
I've done this in yoga before. Should I go straight to the side so you can see me?
Do it on the side so I can see.
Okay. So I'm here,
and
then, ooh, God, that feels good. And my hip flexor.
Yeah, that's the next one.
And my hips need to be straight.
Hips, you always want to see if you scissor your legs, so the knee that's on the ground is pulling forward, and the heel that's on the ground is pulling back. So then if you scissor your legs, you square your hips.
Ooh.
Okay. And go ahead and look straight ahead this time. Don't look at the camera at all. And then, you want to inch. So you want to inch. So the knee that's on the ground, as you start to come backwards in space, go ahead and you'll have to inch that other leg back.
I felt like a little knee pop in my right. And that's been a thing lately.
Go less. Just go less. You want to go very lightly, stay connected, but don't resist. Don't resist so much towards the end of that range of motion.
So
and
this knee that's down, what am I at? It's staying down, right?
Yeah, it's pulling. Again, it's pulling. It's doing the scissoring motion. So the knee that's on the left knee that's on the ground should be pulling. It should be pulling up like you're bringing your knee to your chest.
Oh, it should be raising?
Well, it's not actually going to move. It's just doing that motion.
Ooh,
does that make sense?
My thigh.
Yeah. And you could also do that like this, Lauren, where you're, so go ahead and do it like this, where you're holding your knee.
Okay.
And you could, just scoot back. You lose a little bit your start position, but you can hold your knee.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay, maybe that's easier.
Yeah, try that.
It feels more secure like this.
Yeah.
Oh, but then my thigh is so tight, it feels like it's going to snap.
Your other leg, your other thigh? So let's stretch that.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and do that. Let me show you what to do. So now in this position, so now I have my left leg down, my left knee down. And I'm going to contract as far as I can over, like this.
Okay.
I'm pushing the left foot into the ground. And I'm going to tuck my chin, because think of your hip flexor as the entire front part of your body, right? From the top of your foot all the way up the thigh, through the abdominals, all the way up to the chin.
Okay.
So we're tucking the chin to the chest like this.
Are you pushing your chin all the way up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Be very gentle to the head, but you're just doing like this. You're just making the connection, and you're kind of giving your head a little lift.
Little angel wing on my face.
Yeah, little angel wing, cradle the face. The face loves it. It feels special. Yeah.
Okay,
Great.
so from here, I'm down in with my stomach over my thigh.
Yeah, and think more of crunching your abdominals.
Got it. So I'm
Yeah, and the intention is to connect your upper body to your hip flexor.
Got it.
You're looking for how your two halves of your body are connected. Pretty good. I would probably go slower. That looked pretty good. And really kick that left foot into the ground. Yeah. Yeah, that looked better. Did you feel the difference on that one?
Yeah. It's amazing when you actually like take a second when you're working out to really connect with what you're doing in general. We all just want to like get it done, but I paid the price for that many times.
Me too. I've did plenty of damage before this, enlightened state. I did plenty of damage.
Exactly. Okay, so we're working on the knee to just make the flexibility happen. And then now that I've sort of helped stretch that thigh with the move that we just did, what do you call that move?
I call that a hip flexor stretch.
I've never seen a hip flexor stretch like that, so it's amazing.
Yeah.
So now where should we go when we're trying to open this up?
An important thing to understand there, even though we went right leg to left leg, those are two balancing muscle groups. So, ultimately, we're going to keep moving for time, but ultimately, you would go, ultimately, this is a time where you would go back to the right leg, and then you would stretch that hip flexor.
Yes.
And then you would stretch the hamstring.
So I would be here, or I would be here.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And I'm just doing this again.
Uh-huh.
And so let me ask you this, so viewers that are watching. So when we're down here, it's hard to see, but my foot is flat into the ground. I'm imagining it like a root. It's very strong. My back is up to start, right?
Yep.
Or sorry, I'm down here with my back.
Yeah, you're down there. You want to crunch. You're crunching in like you just did like a crunch.
Here, let's scoot over. Okay. So crunching in, and then I'm taking my hands. And this is to strengthen the left side, right?
Is that your left leg?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So then I'm going to go very slowly, engaging my abs.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then ultimately on that move right there, you would, since you've already stretched your right hamstring, and then you go to do the hip flexor, that's 180 degrees over, that's a balancing muscle group, then you're feeling into if your hamstring that you've already stretched is contracting at the right rate to assist your hip flexor being stretched. So again, one side contracts, the other side lengthens.
Right.
The bicep lengthens, the tricep contracts. So anytime that if you have one of the takeaway from today would be like just paying attention to the balancing muscle groups. Again, 360 degrees, there's always stuff going on. That gets more sophisticated, picking up on all that. But if you could just tap into like the balancing muscle groups, that will that'll do a lot of good for your stretching. Yeah.
I think I connected mostly with the one where my hands were under my knee. And then is there any back opening exercises you could show us for people who have tight mid backs and shoulders really quick?
Yeah, let's do one more for your sciatica though.
Okay, cool.
Okay, we'll do that. How much time do we have? Like another 10 minutes?
we have 30 minutes, so.
Okay, great. So let's do another. My screen went like a little bit darker.
We can totally see you.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's a little bit
Great.
darker for some reason. Okay, so this, I'm going to show you a different way to get into like a pigeon pose.
Okay.
First of all, let me just do a pigeon pose real quick, and just you know, because like in traditional yoga, they get you to, a lot of times, you know, they get you to have a 90-degree bend.
Oh. Yep, you went for 2 seconds, but you're fine.
Okay, and then so for that, and nothing's wrong with that if you have enough external rotation in your leg. But
Yeah.
for now, I just want you to know that you can really bend this knee. And again, you're scissoring the legs as if you're taking a step, right? So you should always have this kind of force going on in the body, right?
Okay.
And then so this front, I have my right leg out, and then I'm pulling it. Can you see how I'm kind of pulling it back?
Yeah.
So I'm pulling it back and then coming over. And see how when I come over, my ribs going towards my spine. And
Okay.
when that happens, this is going right into my sacrum. This is a very important move for you with your sciatic and,
So,
your piriformis pain.
just trying to look at you. Is that your right leg or your left leg?
Yeah, I get confused on screens too, but this is my right leg.
Okay. So I'm going to do my left leg, and you have it like a triangle? How do you have it? Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I'm scissoring like this.
Okay.
I could have my leg out a little bit more if I want, but if you have a knee problem, you want to keep this knee pretty bent. Don't even risk it for right now. You just want to keep that knee bent because we're trying to affect the lateral side of the leg and all the way into the side of the glute and the sacrum.
I keep turning around like a little dog. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me just make sure you can actually see what I'm doing here. Okay. So I need to have this here. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Okay. And then what?
Now go ahead and take your open your knee a little bit more than that. So you want your heel like more in front of your groin. Yeah, that leg, the one that's on the ground.
So it's more of a diagonal.
More of a diagonal.
I feel like I'm doing a figure 4 stretch.
Yeah, kind of. So the main thing is you want the lateral side of your knee on the ground.
Okay, it's on the ground.
Okay, but it's more of the front. So you just want to get more of the lateral on there, but that's good. And then but you want to start off like super high up. Yeah, like that. Yeah, you want to start off all the way like that, and don't even let yourself slide down even farther. So now as you do a forward bend, your ribs are going to go in towards your spine, and you're going to do a forward bend like that. Yeah. And we're not even going all the way to the ground yet. Yeah. Do two or three like that without bending, but watch me one more time. This is an important piece because what's happening, this is a perfect example of like you're missing the beginning of the stretch where you're the most restricted.
Yeah, and I can feel a real tightness in my knee bending like that. So I want to get into it a little better.
Yeah, and so you would want to have like yoga blocks or a chair or something like that to like take the pressure off of you. And maybe this isn't the best move for you.
Yeah.
But I could show you a different way of getting into it. But there's always a way of like problem solving a move.
Yeah, for sure.
So like right here, when you're in, because what's happening is you're just trying to go farther than you actually have the flexibility to go for now. So if you start off all the way up high, let me look how high I'm up. I'm way up here.
I see. It's hard to see your knee though. It's hard to see the bottom part of you. That's why I'm having problems. There we go. Oh.
Okay, I'm way up here.
I see now. I see now. Okay.
Yes. Now watch this one before you go again. Watch this. Now, after I do a few repetitions here, now if I have the flexibility, I can go ahead and go all the way down.
Okay.
I can go all the way
Wow.
down like that, but only if the tissue's lengthening as I do it. See here's what you did at first, and I see people making this mistake in yoga classes all the time.
I see.
Where they just like they fall into this
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, and they just like hang out at the end of that, which I like hanging out at the end of a stretch too. But again, that's not what we're doing here yet.
Gotcha.
We're staying up high.
So
the higher you stay up like that, the more that you can actually get to the lateral part of your leg.
okay, because I don't want to twist my knee. That's what's scary.
Yeah, so you just keep the knee bent. You keep the knee all the way bent, and you're not. The only way you're going to twist your knee is if you start taking this foot out.
Ah, okay.
But if you just keep it bent like that, and then you need something to kind of.
So it's like that. There it is.
Yeah, like that.
This is so much more secure.
Yeah, and then ultimately, boy, if you had something in front of you to push against, you would be like in business, like a wall or a chair.
This is getting real freaky. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. Uh-huh.
And I'm supposed to be feeling the stretch in my hand, in my thigh, and my hamstring, and my hip flexor, I mean?
No, you could be feeling it anywhere, but you're stretching. This is going after like your IT band, your TFL, the side of your, basically the side of your glute all the way up into your sacrum, all the way across to your sacrum.
Okay.
Yeah, that looks good. Yeah. And then you just stay right there. You just go back and forth. Like ultimately we'll move on from this, but ultimately you'd be a little closer to the wall. But I know your carpet or your rug or whatever's runs out, right? I can't tell. Yeah. So anyway, so then you're pushing yourself like that, and then just watch like anytime that you go a little faster and you drop down without that connection is what you want to pay attention to.
Okay. This is hard to do virtually, so I highly suggest you guys take one-on-one virtual classes with Samuel until you do it online or do it in person. But you probably at some point will be able to social distance teach a small group, right?
Definitely. I mean, I would do it right now if I could do it like outside. I haven't set that up yet. But right now I'm just doing it all virtual. But yeah, I mean, sooner than later I'll get back to doing it like in person. I teach classes in New York and I teach them in LA. So we'll get back to doing that before too long. And I teach class on Instagram, and I do Zoom classes and all that. But yeah, it's just hard at first. It is this way of stretching. It seems like a lot of extra moving pieces, right? And we're just having to explain and like having to see this virtually the first time I've ever stretched with you, and like having to do it like this. So it has its difficulties, but whatever. Life's difficult sometimes, but it's great. And but when you listen to your body, where it gets really easy is like it's the way to effectively and efficiently problem solve and unwind. This is like reconfiguring. It's not even stretching. The only reason I even say stretching is because just for languaging purposes, because everybody knows what that word means, but I don't really even connect with like the traditional meaning of that word really, because we think of stretching and it's really like tugging. This is reconfiguration of the tissue. This is forming a stronger relationship with your body. So when you're stretching, every time, if you see yourself just fall down too quickly like that, you've skipped the line of connectivity.
So people just need some patience.
Patience. It's just like anything else in life. I mean, try going out on a date with someone and like, yeah. So what do you want? Yeah. So where are you from? I mean, it's like, no, you have to like really pay attention and you listen and you have a good time. Yeah. So it's like, it's no different than any other thing you do in life. And so it's just,
I love it.
yeah, you just have to pay attention. So one more way of,
Yes.
one more way of getting to that same move, that same pigeon pose move a little bit differently.
Okay.
So I want you to, let me do it this way. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. So notice I'm putting my forearm or my hand, I'm going to do my forearm right to the inside of my knee. And then, so what I'm doing is I'm pushing it inside of my knee and I'm pulling the outside of the foot. And you might only go 3 inches. I mean, you don't have to go far at all. Now you can go further if you feel like you're getting a good stretch. But this is the important part. You can't pull the foot any more than you're pushing at the inside of the knee.
Oh, so is it like a figure 4 kind of?
Yeah, it's like a figure 4, except you're starting out here,
Okay.
and then you're just pushing to the inside of your knee, and then you're rotating.
Is that like an IT band / figure 4?
Yeah, IT band, TFL, glute rotators.
So can I not just go like this, or?
No, definitely not. I mean, you can, but that's a different stretch.
So is it here? No.
Yeah, it's there.
Ooh.
Take your foot straight to the ceiling. Just point straight ahead. Yep, and flex your foot just like you're doing. Now, see how far can you reach? How far away are you from reaching your foot? No, with the other leg. I mean, with the other hand. Yep, like that. Okay, so then now go ahead and take it over to the side. So grab the outside of it, though.
Oh.
No, come from the other way. Yeah, like that. Uh-huh.
That way?
Yeah, and you just want to support, the main thing is you have to support because we're going for rotation of the femur right here. So you want to push to the inside of so your other hand has to be the inside of the knee. Yes. You see how that makes that rotation safe?
So much more supportive.
Yeah. So
now, if I can't get my legs straight, is that okay? If I can't get my legs
keep it straight. Again, if you keep your legs straight, it's a good stretch. It just doesn't it doesn't stretch the rotational pattern.
Oh, I feel that.
Yeah. So yeah, if you push the inside of the knee, then you can get the rotation.
Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah.
That's like hurts so good. I'm tired as. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Woo. That's crazy. So I'm pushing out on my knee and pulling my foot.
Yep.
Wow. And so when I'm doing this move, I'm just going to show it in movement. Not that you could ever go this fast, but this is without doing it like that. So
you could go that fast if that's what your body's telling you to do.
It loosens it up. So now when I'm doing this, the whole point is to loosen up all of this, right? That's what we're doing here?
Yeah.
Because it works.
See, the problem with the pigeon pose, when you go into a pigeon pose and you feel like your knee might bend or twist, it's because your femur's not externally rotating.
Yeah.
Your femur's not rotating, and then that's when the knee feels like it's going to twist.
That feels so good though after you're done with it.
Yeah, I'm just going to show this one more time, just for
yes.
So it's ultimately, I have long arms, so it's easier for me. But you could put a bolster behind your back or something, and then that way, so then you're right here.
Oh. I mean, to be fair, you kind of do this for a living, even though I stretch.
Yeah, no, true. No, totally. So I just wanted to show that one more time.
I love it. That's great. So then I'll do that on the other side, like 3 times each? Doesn't matter.
I would do more, but,
okay.
I think it's always like, I mean, sometimes it's really about like the time. I mean, your body will tell you when, because I might do one stretch like super slow. It might take me a minute.
Right.
Sometimes it might take me a whole minute to do one move, or even longer. But generally, like, I want to spend enough time for the tissue to warm up and heat up. And remember, muscles pull, they don't push.
Right.
So every time that you're stretching, you want to feel the tissue pulling in towards the body, in towards the center of the body. And then the tissue should be pulling from both ways. So whenever you feel that happen, that's when you feel that tissue start to heat up and you're getting in a stretch, that's probably when you want to move on. Now, sometimes I'll start right off with a stretch and I'm like, oh, my body's like, get out of here. And I'll go do something else that will support that movement, and then I'll come back to it. Remember, when you're doing this, you're doing a move, then you do a different one, then you go back to the one that you just did to see if you actually affected a change. So so say if like you're starting off with your stretch today, and you're like, so like the overall historical pattern that you have that's probably on your mind the most is your sciatica, right?
Right.
So that's always going to be like a thing of like what you're doing to get more flexibility there. Or you start off day, you went swimming and your neck is like a thing. Yep. So then you're moving.
Fascial bursitis here.
Yeah. So you're moving around and you're feeling into that. And then you're like, so then the attention, you want to be really clear with your intention when you're doing this form of stretching. Your intention is to get relief and to get healing energy. Healing energy is the life force and the chi, but it's also physically nutrient dense oxygenated blood that's not getting to the injured area because it's entrapped with too much accumulated dense fascia. So you're trying to get blood to that area.
You got to save it. You got to go save its life.
Yes. Yeah.
CPR to your knees and your body.
Yeah, totally.
For backs, for like one last stretch, you're going to show us, right?
Yeah, let's do one for the upper body.
Okay.
So you can do this. I'm just going to stay on my knees for this one, but I like doing this one standing up as well.
Oh, you froze. Okay, you're good now.
When you're stretching your upper body, or when you're stretching your lower body, you're always asking yourself, it's like, how much can I use my lower body to stretch my upper body?
Right.
So it's like, I'm going to grab the outside of the right elbow and I'm pulling this kind of up and over.
Okay.
And then I'm turning towards the arm that I'm stretching.
Okay, so it's, ooh, yeah. Should I have a fist or?
Whatever you like.
That's so good for the mid back.
Okay, and then go even more in the start position. See how far. See if every single stretch you do. See if you can start off a little bit more into the start position each time. So watch. See how I'm doing this. Like I'm not just starting here. I'm going as far back as I can. Then I'm asking myself, what level of contraction and how fast or how slow? And just for an experiment, switch arms, and for an experiment, see how slow you can go.
Okay.
See how this like tripped out you can get on what's going on in that through that full range of motion. Mm-hmm.
It's like the Matrix.
And then the other arm, the other shoulder, you're turning towards the one that you're stretching. Kind of turn your body into it. Yeah.
Right, okay. Oh, like hover, like.
Yeah, like this. So if I'm like here, and then I'm not going to continue to turn this way. I'm going to turn. I'm squaring off into it. Kind of turning into that arm. Yeah.
Okay, so it's here. Ah,
You could,
kimosabi.
I got to show you, I just got to show you one more that's going to really help you.
I love it. It's so good. That feels so good. I do another one where I lay down. I just tell me if you do this. And I literally just go, so it's, you turn to the side here,
Uh-huh.
and it's, I follow.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love
And
that.
I
I love that
my
you're
back
following
too.
with your eyes as well.
Yeah, I usually do the right way.
Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
great. No, I looked like you did do it the right way.
Yeah.
And then when you're doing that, I know you're just showing me like real quick, but when you're doing that, make sure that your torso is rotating at the same rate as your arm.
Okay. Cool.
So basically, when you're doing that, don't ever let your shoulder come up higher than your elbow.
Okay, fair.
So if your torso is rotating along with you, it'll always be in alignment there. But then if your elbow drops down below your shoulder, that means your torso no longer rotated with you.
Okay, got it. Good tip.
Okay, last move.
Okay.
And you can think of this as where this is your lats, but it's also really where your hip flexors come up and connect to the upper body. So we're basically going back into that fetal position we did before, right? With the chin and that whole thing, except this time palms are up, elbows are pulling towards the knees towards the elbows, like this. And then you're just gonna pull back.
Okay, I see.
You can continue to make your knees wider, scoot them back farther. And
Oh my
lean to one side. You can play around with that, but you're going after your lats.
It's working. Now, should I be leaning on these hard on my forearms?
You could put one hand, you could stretch one at a time and put one hand on top of the wrist and really keep that forearm on the ground. Or you could let both arms come up and kind of do more of that motion.
But when I'm coming out of it, am I keeping my back straight when I'm coming down into child's pose-ish?
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because it's less of child's pose and it's more of like keeping the hips going all the way back.
Okay.
So
all right.
you can kind of end up more like this.
But that's kind of dangerous for people who have lower lumbar issues like myself. I pulled my back coming out of a quote unquote child's pose when I was doing that instead of just going straight up out of it. Like if people have lumbar issues, when you're arching and coming up, that's something you need to be aware of, right?
Well, sure, but that's not untrue. But what I was saying as far as like the actual stretch,
right?
When you're stretching, instead of coming into child's pose, you're really keeping your hips up more, and then you come back to a start position, and then you get up safely.
Okay, that kind of reminds me of what we did in Josh's class yesterday.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, cool. Is there a name for that?
What, the stretch that I just did?
Yeah.
I have very boring names. I just call that a lat stretch.
Okay, so maybe tell me, can you walk me through it? So
yeah.
I've got my arms up. You guys won't be able to see it, and they're going to be like this on the ground.
And you're pulling your elbows towards your knees towards the elbows.
Okay, but they're not moving, right?
No, they're not moving. They're contracting to pull towards one another.
Okay.
And then you could scoot your knees back away from you more. Yeah. Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Yep. And then go ahead and try to touch your butt to the wall, basically. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then for all the people with like weak lumbars, you know, you just simply, you go back to the start position now and then put your hands on the ground, you know, then come back up, you know, nice and safe. Yeah.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to feel like really lengthened as well.
Yeah. And then if you ever want to know what any of the, like the associations of the ways of being, basically you could hang out. Sometimes it takes longer, but like if you hang out in the same stretch, like if you just did that stretch you just did for like say 30 minutes over and over and over. I'm not saying that not everybody's capable of like doing that, or should they, or nor should they do it. But if you're interested in like knowing what the ways of being are associated with that, there's different forms of emotionality, different forms of analytical thinking, different ways of being that you can access through unwinding the fascia in those areas. But it takes you know, it takes some doing. It takes some doing to do it. But you could hang out in those positions for, you know, old yogis would hang out in those positions for like, you know, years. And you know,
totally.
I mean, that's how we know about like all the associations of those ways of being, because, you know, people would like literally hang out in those positions for months and months and months.
And then let me ask you one more question before we go. Is there such a thing as too much stretching?
Well, again, yeah, there is. And that's why I kind of got, that's why me personally, I got away from the resistance, the traditional resistance flexibility, the resistance stretching, is because I never felt like I was recovering enough. Of course, I was working on people all the time, and I was stretching myself all the time. And I felt like I wasn't recovering enough.
Yeah.
Now but most people aren't going to reach that point. But there is, I mean, the overstretching is really just what we think of as like an overstretch. That's from not connecting from the beginning and following the path of connectivity, and then only going as far as you can have the strength to go back.
Right.
So as far as like everybody out there staying safe, you only stretch as far as you have the strength to push back.
I see. Yeah.
So if I'm stretching my
10 miles, you got to make sure you can run the 10 miles back.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I'm going to show you this real quick. Like if I'm stretching my hamstring like this, right? Like if I'm stretching my hamstring, now all of a sudden I fall this way, and I lost connectivity. That's when you're tugging on a tissue. That's when you're tugging on the ligaments and the tendons, and you can overstretch something.
Gotcha.
But as long as you're staying connected and you only go as far as you have the strength to go back, then you're always going to stay safe. Now, with any type of physical movement, you can always go too far. You can always go more than your body really wants to go.
Right.
But that's the general rule to stay safe. You start in the most contracted state, you stay connected, you have the intention to create a stronger relationship with your body, and you have the patience to listen. I mean, good luck hurting yourself. It's going to be very hard for that to happen if you stay present.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to show us this stuff today. I really appreciate it. What you do is incredible. For people out there that have injuries or have been so overwhelmed they didn't know what to do. I mean, for me, stretching has changed my life with my sciatica. Specifically, I'm going to start looking into what Samuel does to go even deeper than the practice I've already been doing with my physical therapist the last 3-4 months. Because integrative stretching sounds just like a whole other level, and it's really exciting. So I appreciate you being here so much. And if anybody wants to contact Samuel, you can DM him. He can tell you about private classes on Zoom and other places that he's been teaching. And it's just a pleasure. I'm going to actually keep stretching after this because it feels so good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's not enough. You got to keep. It's always better. It's always better when you're not trying to do the show as well. So it's like,
I know.
So yeah,
well,
go stretch and just like really just trip out on the story of your life. Remember, your body is a physical representation of the story of your life.
5 seconds. Thanks for coming on.
Okay, bye.
Bye.